So it's Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by legendary boxing cutman Jacob Stitch Duran. What do you prefer, first of all, Jacob Stitch, Mr. Duran? What would you like?
Hey, Stitch is fine, Danny. I appreciate it, man. You know, it's awesome because when people call me Jacob, it's usually guys I knew before I was Stitch. So I kind of turn around, right? And Mr. Duran, that's a little too formal, so Stitch is fine.
All right, glad to hear it. Obviously, this is the first time I've had the honour of interviewing you. I know you spoke to my colleague Radio Raheem in the past. You know our owner Robert Waterman very well. Also, I said to you earlier, he sends his regards. So it's a great pleasure to be speaking to you. And what an incredible career, of course. But I guess you're just looking forward all the time.
Yeah, it's been a crazy run, bro. I tell you. And yeah, Robert Waterman, I tell you, Robert was interviewing me before I was anybody, right? And remember when he first started off with SecondsOut.com and sent him my best also. But yeah, listen, man, Danny, I've been blessed with everything that's happening. And, you know, what makes it even better is that till this day, I've never asked for one job. You know, I just very proud. You know, I just can't kiss nobody's ass. But I've been okay.
When and why did you specialize in the cutman side of boxing? Because you had a gym, you worked with fighters. Why was it that particular niche that appealed to you?
You know, out of the one-on-one, I think, you know, you made a different type of position. But yeah, you know, and when I moved to Vegas, I guess it'll be 29 years in October. And but I didn't come as a trainer because I thought all the great trainers in the world were here in Vegas, right? But I saw him working out. I said, man, I could do that and I could do that. And so I started because I had a job, an 8 to 5 job with RJ Reynolds Tobacco Company. But I would leave work, go to the gym and do pads for guys. They would hire me to do pad work. And then after that, I'd go straight to work, you know. But yeah, I've done pads for Mike Tyson and just a bunch of guys, both when he fought Tyson. I mean, and Mike McCallum, all the legendary guys they would call me. But being a cup man just kind of floated to the top, you know, and I don't know. It's just, I guess the one-on-one is a good question. And I don't think anybody's ever asked that. And I've never asked myself that, you know, why did I choose to be a cut man? I don't know.
And it's kind of learning how to address a cut and so on. Is that completely learning on the job, or was there any other knowledge you had to pick up, either, you know, written or working with, I don't know, shadowing someone in a hospital? Or how did you learn how to do it?
Nah, you know, it was all in the trenches, bro. And for the most part, it's, you know, that's why I try to teach. But I remember when I had my school kickboxing, ASK, I went to a boxing event in Richmond, California. Bone Crusher Smith fought Marvis Frazier, the son of Joe Frazier, right?
Yeah.
And one of the earlier fights, the guy did a good job as a cut man. So I went up to him and I said, hey, look, I'm trying to learn to be a cut man. You did a good job. Can you tell me what you did? He says, fuck you. I'm taking this to my grave and you got to learn like me. And he walked away. I swear, Danny. And I said, you know, never going to be like that, man. My job is to come out, and I'm a martial artist first and foremost, and my job is to teach. So I've done this interview hundreds of times and never mentioned his name once. He don't even know. But now I go back to Oakland with Andre Ward, right? We've both have gone up in credibility, and I know he forgot about it, but now him and his son want to take a picture with me. So I put my arms around. Yeah, okay. You just let me know that because of you, I'm not like you, you know. So my job is to teach, and you know, we were talking about it last night where none of us in this game, coaches or cutmen, have to be certified to be considered pros. Anybody could pick up a towel, and it's not fair to these young fighters, right? So you know, working with Top Rank, it's great because they bring me and Mike Basil, two experienced cutmen, to work with the guys that don't have cutmen or the guys that need their hands wrapped, you know. So Top Rank pays us to take care of these guys. That's the way it should be.
What is the feeling like when you've addressed a cut that's either changed the course of a fight or kept someone in the fight and they've gone on to win? How much pride or satisfaction do you get?
Yeah, it's a lot of it, you know, and you know, and it's somewhat, yeah, I've made a lot of money for a lot of guys. You know, I've kept a lot of guys in the game and championship fights and all that. But that aside, it's the moments, you know, the going away moments, you know, after I've done a good job with the fighter and, you know, they give me a hug, give me a kiss and tell me they love me. You know, Tyson Fury, when I worked with him the first time, I looked at his cuts and talked about him. And I said, well, look, I'm going to do a lot of preventive maintenance. I'm not going to wait till you start inflaming or swelling. So I'm going to keep ice on you every round. So simple thing like that, right? But I'm saying goodbye to him after the fights, and he's ready to jump in the shower. He just has his shorts on and gives me a hug and says, "I love you. Thank you for keeping nice on me." That was it. Those are the moments, that make my job so special. Yeah, I've done hundreds and hundreds of world title fights. It's not even about that anymore. It's about the characters.
I've got to ask you about the flip side of that as well. When you're in a fight and no cuts occur and your services aren't required, how do you feel at the end of one of those? Is it a bit deflating?
No, no, not really. I, I work plenty of cuts, bro. So cuts are not an issue for me, right? But I always prepare for the worst case scenario, and if I just sit back and eat popcorn, I'm doing okay. So I'm basically, as you break it down in the mechanics of what I do, Danny, I'm an insurance policy, and I tell you if you're driving a Ferrari, you get insurance for a Ferrari, right? If you drive a Volkswagen, same thing, so that's what I am, and if it happens, I'm there to take care of it. And if it don't, then, I've done a lot of preventive to Nate Diaz when he fought Jake Paul in the last one. Nate always gets cut. You punch him here, he gets cut up here, right? And after the fights at the press conference, one of the media guys says, "You didn't get cut." And, to me, it's because I kept ice on him every round. So that theory works.
How much of your job is the physical side of actually addressing cuts, preventative stuff like the ice, as you were saying? And how much of it is more emotional and mental, reassuring the fighter, educating them, making sure they don't focus too much on it?
I think that's probably one of my strongest values is the psychological aspect. Yeah, you want to take that away from them. What do you think? Piece of cake, studying a new issue, but I always talk to them before they go out, and I'll sit down with them one-on-one, especially because I do so many new guys. Like tonight, I'm working with, out of the 3 fights I'm working, 2 of them are brand new, kid from the Philippines and kid from the Dominican, but I'll sit down with them one-on-one. I said, "Oh, sorry." I'm on the table here in the hotel. So I'll say, "Look, I'm here to take care of you." I said, "I'm going to treat you like you're my son, so you go out there and don't worry about nothing," right? And that's the old thing. Vladimir Klitschko, when he fought Anthony Joshua, I know you were there, Wembley Stadium, right? So I didn't see Vladimir and Vitaly till Friday at the weigh-ins because my daughter Carla had gotten married in the island of Crete, and I didn't get there till Thursday night. So I'm there talking to them, and I understand they can't sleep the night before. So I put my hand on Vladimir. I said, "Look, man, don't worry about nothing anymore. I'm going to take care of you like you're my son." And I leave. And here I am right before Michael Buffer does the announcements, and 90,000 of you crazy Brits, I always say it's like 150,000 of somebody else. It was so loud, but we're about this far apart, and I'm putting the final Vaseline on him. And he says, "You could call me son." Bro, I got into his head, but that's what I'm talking about. The psychological aspect is extremely important. And you can't teach it. You have to have been there and done that and understand.
Now, you mentioned Tyson Fury a few moments ago, and his cut recently in sparring has become one of the most famous and discussed cuts over recent times. Do you ever get drafted in by fighters into camp to combat things like this? Because it's rare, I guess, when fighters get cut in camp.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, and it's just, those are what you call freak accidents, right? And but yeah, I've done a ton of interviews, and especially from the Brits, right, on that type of cut, and and I'll explain it to you. Is that cut that he had there? Yeah, of course, they should have stopped the fight or postponed it until later on. People ask me how long. I've always understood 100 days for a good cut like that. But as you look at it, let's say the cut was to happen during the fight in the first round. All right, as it was, see, it looked open because Tyson's like this. He's opening up his eyes. But as he relaxes, it's a thin cut. That's a very easy cut to control. And at worst case scenario, the blood would come down to the side of the eye. Mike Basil, last week at the Top Rank fights, he worked with Jermaine Ortiz that fought Teofimo. He ended up with that type of cut, a little bit bigger than his, and he controlled it to the T. And I just had lunch with Mike a while ago. I said that was as perfect work as you're going to work on a cut. So that wouldn't have been an issue. But yeah, I'm glad that they postponed it for later on.
Yeah, they postponed it to May the 18th, which, by your 100-day rule, it's just about right. Would you be concerned about it opening back up if you were in that camp? I mean, you might still be in the corner, of course.
Yeah, you always prepare for worst case scenario, and the Nate Diaz thing. If it don't happen, I did my job, right? So yeah, you of course, and that's a good question because psychologically for both teams, Usyk, of course, what's he going to do? He's going to go for the cut, right? He's going to probably get in close and do a lot of the in wrestling and maybe rub shoulders or just something incidental, and so that'd be his advantage. So Tyson Fury and Sugar on the psychological aspect, we can't let that bother them. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, it's a
but
tough
I
one.
agree. I agree. And if you want my opinion, they're going to need a good experienced cut man.
And is that going to be you?
Just for the mental game.
How soon will you know whether you're going to be in the corner for his fight with Usyk?
I don't know, man. I just get calls, and I never wait for anything, bro. If it happens, it's meant to be. If it not, then I'll watch it on TV. And
with a fight of that magnitude, is it usually quite far ahead of time or not?
Yeah. I would think so. I wouldn't wait till the last week or two. That's for sure. I might have a Mexican wedding I got to go to. Yeah.
I mean, how does a cut like that happen in camp? You said it's a freak accident. Do you see anything? I know you said in another interview, maybe he should have worn the head guard with the bar across it. Is there anything more he could have done to prevent it? Do you think, some have said he was going too hard in sparring close to the fight, but then others have said intense spars are essential.
Yeah, no, and on the face gear, I said if he, for this next fight, I would use that when he spars. So in preparation, you can still work out and you can still do sparring from here down. Just this. Oh, I'm sorry, just leave that area alone. And yeah, use a very flimsy hotel here. So, oh god dang it, sorry, man.
That's all right.
So anyway, yeah. So he could still do that, but in the secondary, I would definitely get headgear with the bar just for the protection. So
yeah, but you said just now you think Usyk will almost certainly target the cut. Is that a case with Fury as well, that subconsciously he's going to be thinking about protecting that side more than the other?
100%, 100%. And I can guarantee you, I worked with Emmanuel Stewart for 8 years with Vladimir Klitschko, so I know Emmanuel Stewart's style of fighting. And Sugar is, of course, kind of follows that format. So I know that they're preparing for the worst case scenario, which is staying away from, it would be the jab, and just figuring out, keeping your hand up or, but of course, and that's what I'm talking about. The mental game is extremely important during this fight for both guys. One has the advantage because he's already, the damage has already been done. The other one is at disadvantage because he don't want it to happen again. And unfortunately, he's had 3 cuts in that same area, all within, this type of area. Not so much all there, but all within there. So, he's prone to being cut. The probabilities are high. Yeah, well, the probabilities are high there. Just, looking at numbers, as you break them down in numbers, and I always do, is, it's high.
And a lot of people said before the cut happened, when they were talking about Fury Usyk as a fight, that Fury would try and wrestle with Usyk, lean on him, make the extra weight and size count. It's going to be harder for him to do that now, isn't it? Because in sparring, that's when he got cut. He got cut coming out of a clinch.
Yeah, no, and that's never going to happen again. The probability of that is 99% that it won't happen again, right? And so you don't worry about that. You continue working on that. Somebody said it was an elbow or whatever it was came from this position up because I had to go through the headgear, I had to penetrate that and lift the headgear up and make the contact. So, yeah, that's not going to happen again.
What's the likelihood, in your view, and you've obviously only seen it from distance so far, of that cut reopening in the fight?
Same thing. It's you're always looking, like I say, I prepare for worst case scenario, Danny. So you're always looking at what are the probabilities. Well, it happened before. That's a vulnerable part where not only Tyson Fury but any other fighter could get a cut there. So this is the area where the probability if he's going to get cut will be in one of those areas. So yeah, just prepare.
And you said you don't wait for the call. You're happy either way. But Is this the sort of opportunity that would excite you and that you could prove the difference in a fight like this?
Yeah, of course, of course. You know, just like say when Nate Diaz fought Jake Paul, same thing. You know, when KSI fought Logan Paul, same thing. You know, I treated him like a fighter, and he performed like a fighter. You know, so that's my job. You know, so thank God I know my stuff.
And if you were to end up doing it, would it be Fury himself that would get in touch, or would it be Bob Arum?
I don't know. Good question. I don't know. I'm here with Bob today, and Bob's no dummy. I don't know. We had a great relation. I had a great relationship with Tyson when I worked with him and his whole team, and so yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, and I'd love to work with Tyson Fury again. And I think just on the psychological aspect, it makes a difference. On the business side, is if I was to break it down and say who would I want to work in my corner, you give me 3 names, right, and then pick one. So.
And you said at the start, I asked you a question that you'd never been asked before. I'm now going to ask you a question that you've been asked probably hundreds of times. What's the absolute worst cut you've ever had to address?
There's been actually the one that Vitaly Klitschko got, the one that Forrest Griffin got, the one that Badu Jack got, that big vein that we have right there.
Yeah.
That one right there. When
Marcus Brown, wasn't it?
Pardon me?
Was it against Marcus Brown when he got that?
Who was that?
Badu Jack.
Yeah, Badu Jack. Yes. And but it's that big vein, and they're tough to stop. When I did Forrest Griffin when he fought Shogun, I threw everything in there, the whole kitchen sink, and it worked, right? I used different medications and all that. With Vladimir Klitschko, when he got cut, I had worked on those cuts before. I know the probability of stopping him is low. I tell you, I work on numbers. So I'm looking at the fight, and it's his first comeback fight from losing his world title to Lehman Brewster. He fought DeVarrow Williamson in Las Vegas at Caesars. So in the first 3 rounds, he won the fight. Didn't look good, but he won. The 4th round, he gets dropped, flash knocked down, but he still got dropped. So I look at him, it's still a 3-2 rounds in his favor. So in the 5th round, he gets that unintentional headbutt that rips it right there, and he's bleeding. And when he sits down, I tell him and Vitaly, I said, look, you got a back cut. You're winning the fight. I'm going to have the doctor stop the fight. So they didn't understand. I mean, Emmanuel, I couldn't yell it out, so he didn't know. But when the doctor came in, she knew. I've worked with her many, many times in the UFC. She goes, what do you think, Stitch? I go like this. I open it up and say, that's pretty bad. She stopped the fight, went to the scorecards. Vladimir won the fight and became world champion for 8 years. So those are making the proper decisions. If I would have blew it, we wouldn't be talking right now.
How frustrating is it when you see other, perhaps lesser cut men working on cuts in the corner, making mistakes, whether it's on TV or actually in the arena? Do you find that frustrating to watch?
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. And, my family, my kids, they grew up in the game, and they'll send me messages, but I always try to teach Danny and simple things in getting a cut man. I'll say, look, if your cut man still puts a swab in his mouth, or he puts a swab here in his ear, get another cut man. That's old school. That's filthy. That's dirty. But then also ask them the adrenaline chloride 1-1000, the medication that we use, which is primarily used throughout the world. There's other medications that are allowed in different countries, Avitine, Thrombin in the States. But ask them what the adrenaline chloride does, the cut man, if you're going to choose a cut man. And if he says it's a coagulant, get another cut man, because it's a vessel constrictor. When you put it on the cut, that's when you see me, I'll squeeze the cut. I'll take the little remaining blood that's in the veins, the little capillaries. I'll squeeze that out, and I'll put the adrenaline, and it absorbs into the vessels, and it closes them. So if he tells you it's a coagulant, get another cut man, because he don't know. That's what I'm saying. None of us have to be certified to be called pros, and it's a shame to the fighters.
It's interesting how happy you are to pass on your knowledge, because as you said, when you first got into the game and you asked a veteran at the time, they didn't want to help you at all. They didn't want to share that knowledge with you. What is that? Why you're so open now?
Well, I've always been like, through my family's always been giving. My parents, we grew up as farm workers. So, we grew up real poor and picking every fruit and vegetable when it was time to pick. And when you would have the migrants that would come and work, My parents would always help them out with finding them jobs. And so we've always been like that. But yeah, I've always been for fighters' rights. I've always been for, that's why the UFC fired me, because I spoke out about the Reebok deal. And it was an unfair practice. So I guess it's always been my nature is to give back, and they're not taking nothing from me. And my legacy, when I leave this, is that I made the game safer, bottom line, and so I don't mind teaching.
Does it disappoint you in a way, because you did the right thing ethically, morally, but now there'll be fighters in the UFC who are missing your services as a cutman?
Yeah. Oh, I get stopped all the time, bro. Not only fighters and fans and everybody. It's been like 9 years, and they still stop me, and they say they miss me, and I mean everything that goes with showing me a lot of love. So I did the right thing. Best thing ever happened, and I've gotten a lot of compliments throughout royalty in Dubai and Wesley Snipes and, hey man, UFC did you wrong, and just so many. But the best one I got was Luis Doria, that's a Brazilian coach that trained Anderson Silva and a bunch of top Brazilian fighters. When during COVID, we were doing shows, top ranked shows in the bubble at the MGM. I hadn't seen Luis in 8 years. And he comes up to me and says, Stitch, we, the coaches, the fighters, we thank you for speaking up because we couldn't. Bro, I could die right then. That was the message that just made everything ideal. Speaking up for the fighters.
And you're hugely experienced. You are legitimately, by non-biased observers, the best in the world at what you do, which is incredible. Are there still things you want to achieve within the sport? Have you still got boxes you want to tick?
Yeah, there's some projects I'm working on right now. If I could tell you about them, one is a cut cream that expedites the healing process of cuts. I had this guy, Jay Timms, they contacted me, and this is the way my life works. And he says, I have a cream that we created that it's CBD product. It's a CBD product that has vegetable stem cell and other healing items. So I said, well, what proof source do you have? Wow, that's why we called you. And this is my background working with RJ Reynolds Tobacco Company for 23 years. I said, well, look, I'm doing the bare knuckle fights in Florida. If you want to go with me, let's go, because they all get cut. And then they sew them up in the dressing room and take a picture of them and then give them the cream and then have them send you a picture back. Well, the results have been tremendous. All right. So that's a CBD cream. It's called the Cut Cream, Stitch Premium. And so that's out there now. But if it works for, if it works for fighters, it works for anybody with, surgeries and everything. And so it's a good thing. But based on that, the company that's doing the distribution, and I'll tell you right now, you're my first international comment on this, is I got my own Ty Stitch cannabis line coming out in April. So yeah, so this is a top of the line company that's created it for some of the big stars, Snoop Dogg and Elton John and all that. And they contacted me, and I said, well, yeah, I said, and this goes back to the martial arts where I started. I said the best weed I ever smoked was the year I was stationed in Thailand. If you could create something as comparable to that, we'll call it Ty Stitch. So Ty Stitch is coming out April.
Awesome.
It just shit happens, bro.
It's good. You're still diversifying, even at the advanced age and with all your success.
Yeah, well, that's I've always been a marketing savant, and just take advantage of these opportunities. I have a tequila company that contacted me by using my image, and so I'm in. I'm game if it makes sense, makes dollars, but I still have to protect my image. I'm not gonna go out there and just kind of I got to respect what I represent. And, so, yeah, I've been blessed. And then I saw Michael B. Jordan when Shakir Stevenson fought, I think a couple months ago. And, they're working on Creed 4. And so he says a couple of years, we'll be working again. So that's cool, huh?
How's that been for you? Because you've always been well known in the boxing community, but being in things like the Creed franchise, you must get recognized a lot more now outside the sport.
People stop me, that's a good point. People used to stop me first because of the UFC, right? And now they stop me for boxing. Well, now they're stopping me for the Creed movies, So yeah, it's kind of a mind blower. But I told Michael, because every day it's just Michael and I would wrap his hands in the dressing room or in the trailer, wherever we're at filming. And it's just him and I, but I always, like KSI, I always treated him like a fighter. And he appreciated that. But I told him during the second movie, I said, Michael, I'm just so proud of you. And Ryan Coogler, who wrote and directed it, and Tessa Thompson and Steve Cappell, that was director for Creed 2. And he looks at me as you're looking at me there, and he says, Stitch, we went from being actors to writers. We went from being actors to writers, producers, and directors. And he looks at me like this and says, I'm directing Creed 3, and you're with me as long as you want. So, man, I'm part of the legacy. And it's cool because adding up to that, I forgot to mention they're finalizing, because I wrote a book called From the Fields to the Garden, growing up as a farm worker, and my goal was to reach Madison Square Garden. Well, I'm here right now, you know.
Yeah,
So they came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in doing a documentary based on my life. So by the grace of God, tell you how it works. A week after I signed, I get a call that Triple G is fighting, of all places, here at the Garden. So they gave us all access. So we got all that footage, and then COVID kicked in, and that took us out. But we got Tyson Fury. We got a whole bunch of guys. So now we're finalizing it, and our last day of filming will be April the 28th in Montebello, California, where I'm getting inducted into the National Boxing Hall of Fame. So what a better way to end the film, you know? So
great stuff.
Yeah, it's been a blessing, man. I'm telling you.
Well, I look forward to seeing it when it comes out, whether it's on the festival circuit or ultimately, I'm sure it'll end up on a streaming service. So I'll look forward to watching it.
Oh, yeah. No, they're looking at, it's going to be a 90-minute film. And, they're looking at I got Michael B. Jordan in it. So many of the high-end people I've worked with. And yeah, and then my life as a farm worker, growing up, picking tomatoes and peaches and cotton and, doing that all my life. And where I'm at now talking to you it's a big change in my life, man.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure talking to me is the best illustration of how well you're doing, to be honest, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Yeah.
Stitch, really, really appreciate your time. I better let you get on because you've got some fighters to maybe not stitch up tonight. Let's wait and see, but you'll be ready, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. No, it's this is fun, bro. It's not even a job. It's an adventure. People say, when you going to retire? I said, from what? This keeps me young. This is, how can you not love doing what I do? And but no, I appreciate it, man. We'll do it again.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
And then tell Robert I said hi, and I'm glad he's doing good. I'm glad you guys are doing good. And it's been 15, 20 years, I think, since when you guys started. You were a young kid.
Next time you're in the UK, we should all get together.
Yeah, I'll be actually in Suffolk. I'm working with Jose Chon Cepeda. I don't know who he's fighting. I don't know who he's fighting. Anyway, March 23rd, I'll be in Suffolk. So
we'll look forward to that. Oh, yeah, I think that's Dalton Smith.
Yes. Okay, I was going to throw the name Smith out, but there's a lot of
there's a lot of Smiths over here,
yeah. All right.
All right, we'll see you then.
All right, my man. Take care. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
All right. One love.